Fire Station at 88 Chestnut Street. That station was opened August 27, 2020. We were welcomed by Chief Tom Conroy, and we were led by Deputy Chief Steve Gannay and Lieutenant Jason Pierce. What impressed me is the Needham Fire Station met all the operational needs that we have in Westwood. Only their facility meets current NFPA guidelines. It also meets all current life safety and accessibility code requirements. Vehicle garaging was provided in space and height needs for today's operational and training purposes. Uniform decontamination rooms were provided for personnel to clean and store their gear. Administrative reporting personnel decisions and planning were provided in appropriate spaces. Department personnel privacy was provided in sleeping and bathroom facilities. They talked about their on-shift living space as their home. Needham Station, in my opinion, was a facility Westwood should aspire to. Last week, we spent to you a YouTube recording of September 25, 20, so those that could not attend were able to do so. The second comment is on December 17, Jody and I, along with Assistant Chief Colin McCarthy, toured FS2. It reminded me so much of the Needham Station, except it was just smaller. And I suggest that all members who have not been able to go there that you do so. It's worth seeing. By touring our stations, we will receive a clear understanding of how Westwood staffing currently works. And I think that's something that we should talk about when the appropriate time. Earlier this morning, we obviously toured the Deerfield School property and town-owned property behind Gulf and Starbucks Station. And that's a possible place that we need to talk about and come January when we talk about the various options that were discussed by the selectmen, and there are 8 of those. Finally, at the select board meeting on December 8th, the selectmen approved our FS1 steering committee charge, which is on the website. So I hope everybody has a chance to look at it. The charge is, and they added that their goal is to come up with a long-term and short-term recommendation to them by March 1. Does not give us a lot of time, but that's what they would like us to do. And that would be a final recommendation to move for further study and funding, which we would need for FS1. Any comments on what I mentioned? Anybody want to have any additions?
One question, and I guess it's maybe for Steve. Have any of the code changes been any code changes from the time they built Needham and FS2 that we need to incorporate into the station?
So FS2 didn't have a lot of the decon space. That was 17, I think that was built.
Okay.
Needham has a lot of it. That was just done a couple of years ago. That's way push for safer stations as far as cancer and that's what not really came from between those two projects.
But nothing's changed since then.
Not really that I'm aware of.
Anything else?
So just an observation walking around Needham, looking at things like the lockers that they added, and I would ask, is there any like sort of what's working well and what's not? Consistently on the tour, I kept hearing, well, we wish we had more lockers. We wish there was a in the workout facility, there isn't a bathroom. So I think just really stepping back and looking at what's needed. And I think, you know, it's not a lot to add additional lockers. So I think that was just very interesting to me that they're only 5 years in and they're wishing they had more space.
They said that several times that they wish they had more space. And I think we don't know what they cut out of their building plan, but space is a concern that they wish they had more. So I think that's something we always have to think about. Next on the agenda is a presentation by the fire department on department operations on programmatic needs. Thank you. We are back and sorry about the technical difficulties. So I'm now going to ask the Assistant Chief and Chief to make a presentation.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well, thank you very much, Assistant Chief Colin McCarthy, Chief Steve Lund is here as well. He'll help fill in some of the gaps. So basically, we're tasked today with this presentation just to kind of fill in some of the background information on space and needs of the fire department as we currently sit. There's our current Station 1. So what we've done here, excuse me, is this is our organizational chart, and I want you to pay particular attention to the things in red here. Green is Station 2. So those are the staff members that currently operate out of Station 2. We operate out a minimum of 9, but I separated out with these boxes this is our administrative staff here, and this is actually our operations staff. So these are the folks that are going to your calls 24/7, 365 days a year, staffing the fire station to all the alarms of fire and all the medical calls. This is our administrative staff. And over here is our support services. When I speak about support services, the only person on this list that is not a full-time employee of the fire department somewhere in this area is our mechanic up here, Jacob Hart, who is a 20-hour-a-week employee who's in charge with fleet maintenance and keeping us up to date and all of our maintenance and repairs that need to be done. So everybody else here is a full-time employee in some capacity here that happens to have a specialty place for us where they do, whether it be fire alarm or our SAFE program, fire prevention and education, those types of things. So these people are already employed. These are not extra employees. I point these out because all these people, although they already work in this capacity for us, when they do these other jobs for us, they need space to do things. So for example, our fire alarm people, we have a fire alarm truck that the bucket goes up in the air to fix the fire alarm system. That direct reports into the fire station. These are the folks that go out and do that type of work for us. SAFE, for example, they have all sorts of handouts and dummies and props and things that they do to teach fire safety to both the seniors in town as well as the town's youth. So we're in the school system, we're in the senior citizens group with all of our SAFE programs as well. And then these are the people who work on a rotating basis, 24 hours a day. For example, group 3 is working today. That's their first day. So they came in 8 o'clock this morning, this group. They'll work until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, have a day off, come back in, and they'll do another 24-hour shift on Wednesday. They'll be here as well. And these other ones rotate around them as well. So day on, day off. So it averages out to 42 hours a week. And then these are our Monday through Friday staff. So the chief and myself, and then we have our office manager, Melda Cavey, and then we have our deputy in charge of training and fire prevention. So we split the fire prevention duties as well. And our EMS coordinator, Chris Marcinkevichus, who runs our EMS program under the direction of myself and the chief. Yes.
Are you fully staffed?
Fully staffed right now. So good question. We're attempting to get to 11 per shift, and I'll touch on that in a few minutes. But right now we're at 9 per shift is our minimum. We do not drop below 9. So you'll see 1, 2, 3 at Station 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 at Station 1. So we run 7 here, 3 here for 10 when we have an extra person, but we will go down to 9. So this guy is actually a probationary firefighter. So you'll cross that out. So we're trying to get to 11 per shift. We're not quite there yet.
We're hiring 2, so we'll have 2 shifts with 11 and 2 shifts with 10. And we have 2 people being hired in the process right now.
Right. So I'll get you 1 second. The last thing I want to say about that is, so we'll get to a minimum of 9 and we do not drop below 9 people is the lowest we'll go. Does that make sense? Sorry, Judy, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused.
Sure.
I thought the recommendation for 11 per shift included the chief. So, I mean, I'm confused because if I look at this, it looks to me like you have 11 per shift. If you include the if you include the DC and the chief who are on, you've got 11 per shift. Isn't that what at least the last recommendation was?
To get to 11 per shift, we have,
With this?
we're short 2 right now.
Right. So these are the operational people down here. These are the 11. These are the 11. These are our shift complement down here. Everybody up in this box is a Monday through Friday employee.
We don't count towards shift in.
Okay.
Correct.
okay.
Does that make sense?
There is a deputy on shift. Is that what was confusing you?
The deputy chief, this top box here is the deputy chief, and then we have a lieutenant at station one. And then we have, depending on the shift and depending on whether we're full or not, or absences, vacation, or sick time, we will have 4 people at a minimum here. Does that make sense?
It
So,
does.
but 9 is as low as we go, because later on, I'm going to touch on some different models where if we have 10, this is how we operate. If we have 11, this is how we operate. All right. I'll get there in 1 minute. Just a quick overview. Sorry.
No. Do that. Zoom.
So while she's doing that, with your 2 new hires, when they come on board, you'll be at 11 for 2 of the portion.
Correct.
That's absolutely correct. Yep. Yep. And you'll see at 11, we mix and match people a little differently than we do at 9.
We've got a couple people at long-term stuff right now, but on paper will be at that.
This is just a little bit of information about the things that we do and the vehicles that we use to do it. So I've included some of our fleet, not all of our fleet in the pictures, but fire suppression. Engine companies do the fire suppression. They carry 750 gallons of water. These are the folks that pull the hose lines off the truck. They go into the fire, they put it out. Our ladder companies are used for our ladder truck, for ventilation. They do search and rescue. So they have a different function during a fire. So those trucks have 2 different sets of jobs to do in the event of a fire. Ladder company, I'll get on this in a minute too, so I won't beat a dead horse yet, but rescue. So we do elevator rescues, machine rescues, car accidents. Anytime we take out the jaws of life to cut someone else, that's considered the rescue side as opposed to fire prevention. EMS. They keep ALS equipment on it so they can initiate treatment before the ambulance gets there, but they're non-transporting ambulances. At station 1, we have currently with a 9-shift model, we have 3 ambulances. 2 are staffed. The first one is fully staffed, 24 hours a day with 2 members. The second one is only staffed when engine 5 is in quarters, because what we do is we take the crew from engine 5 and put them on the second ambulance to get them out the door. So if they're at an alarm, currently we don't have a second ambulance available at that time. We have to call mutual aid. Hazmat, we do hazardous material spills. Anytime a car crashes, leaks fluid into your storm drains, we dam and dike those storm drains to keep it from getting into the ecosystem. Any company we have in town that has a chemical spill, we respond to that. We're fortunate enough to house the truck 13, the hazmat truck that's currently at station 2. We can talk about that a little bit more, but a quick synopsis of that is each department in the area has some sort of obligation to the state to hold the truck or house a truck that is there for not only response in Westwood, but response in our surrounding areas as well. For example, Canton has a technical rescue truck. We, since 1990-ish, have had truck 13 housed in Westwood Fire. In fact, the chief is a senior member of the state hazmat team. So this truck can actually respond to not only in Westwood, but anywhere in southeastern Massachusetts in the event of a major hazmat incident. All right, so, and then emergency management planning, that's more like the big storms that come through, like we had the other day. Sometimes we need to set up the emergency operations center. We collaborate with the police department, with town hall, and set up the EOC. We're a major part of the planning for any emergency management system that needs to be enacted within the town. Fire prevention, that's partially my job, partially Deputy Colosi's job. Down in the basement of Station 2 is where our offices are. Yes, it's Station 1. What did I say? Oh, geez. Basement of Station 1, pardon me. We do oil tank inspections, smoke detector inspections. We do commercial inspection, common victual inspections. The gamut of any fire department related inspections come out of it, as well as permitting. That all comes out of our office. Anytime a house is sold in town, it needs to be inspected prior to the sale going through. We do all that stuff. And then we also do training within our office as well, which I'll get to a little bit later as well. Fire investigation, Same crew kind of handles that. It initiates at the time of the call and then carries through our office. Code enforcement goes along with fire prevention, apparatus maintenance. I already spoke to our mechanic, Jake Hart, who does all of our preventative maintenance as well as all of our repairs to the extent possible out of the building that you guys saw down back. And then pub ed and training again, same thing. So public education, I talked to, like, that's our SAFE program. They go out, they're in the schools, they're in the senior center, they're at the senior housing in town, speaking and putting on classes about fire prevention and safety standards. So real quick though, so some of the different trucks I actually want to touch on here. This is emergency management operations trailer, carries a bunch of excess equipment. So in the event that we have a major disaster, we can bring extra equipment to the scene of whatever the incident may be. This is a squad truck. This comes up a lot. This is one of the pieces that we like to keep as a frontline piece because it functions as an engine. However, it has the capability of four-wheel drive and can get to areas that our engine just can't get. So in cases of inclement weather, or we need to go deep into Hill Reservation, we'll use that to get that 750 gallons deep enough into the woods because there aren't any hydrants in the woods. So we start with that. And then we use a smaller brush truck when practical to get even deeper into the woods. So this carries like small hoses to get way out, high tension lines, think of things like that. And this is the one that gets us closer. This has to stay on the roadway. We cannot go off road with that. So this serves as a backup engine to this as well. And like I said, it has four-wheel drive capability. So it gets water to places we can't get to with the engine. This is our little Kubota. As you saw, this was stuff in our basement in between our reserve engine and our spare ambulance. So you have to do the Austin Powers back and forth to wedge it out of there. That's so if we have a injured hiker or a injured cyclist deep in the woods, that's the vehicle that has the longboard on it, so we can transport patients in and out of the woods safely. I won't beat this up too much because I just pretty much touched on this, but engine companies do the fire extinguishment, ladder companies do ventilation, search and rescue, provide elevated and reach. Why do you need a 100-foot ladder in Westwood? We don't have any 9-story, 7-story buildings. It's not necessarily about the height of the building, it's the reach. We need to get from the roadway to the building. So some single-story residential buildings, we can't reach certain areas with a regular ground ladder. We need to use the aerial for that, the aerial device. Our shift commander, very important part of our organization. He's the one that runs our shift. He's the deputy chief in charge of, we have one assigned per shift, and he's the one that runs the day-to-day operations of the emergency calls. He assigns staff to where they need to be, and his job is essentially to be in charge of the incident until relieved by the chief or myself upon our arrival. So he's the go-to, he's the point person for the shift. And our ambulance, as I said, our first due ambulance has 2 people primarily assigned to it every shift. It's our backup ambulance that we're trying to get fully staffed all the time. All right. Ambulance is obviously, I said, ALS versus BLS. We provide ALS care across town so we can advance cardiac monitor, advanced medications, advanced airway control, like intubation, things like that, needle decompression to the chest. There's several levels of EMS. We're at the highest pre-hospital level possible. Think of our ambulance as a rolling emergency room.
ALS stands for
Advanced life support versus basic life support, or just a general first responder level is someone who doesn't have the other 2 levels.
What do you use to tow the trailer?
So the trailer is the shift commander's vehicle, car 3, is rated to tow that trailer as well as, so we actually have a couple of trucks. We have a secondary truck that we use for plowing, and it's our utility vehicle. We also use it to shovel hose back and forth from fires. That vehicle can tow it. Our shift commander's vehicle can tow it. And then our boat too, our shift commander's vehicle tows the boat. That's why the boat is behind car 3 as it currently sits. So it's ready to deploy right away. I'm trying to explain to you, so why do we have so much apparatus for the amount of people? Well, as I explained, every truck has its own set of workload that it can handle. It does certain things that other trucks don't necessarily do. And then how that relates to our staffing level is I'm trying to relay in this slide here. So as I said, We have 6 people out of the station when we're at 9. 9 is our minimum. So 3 are at station 2. That leaves us 6 over here. So we have number 6 out of 6 firefighters, the deputy chief. He's in the car. He stays in the car. That's his vehicle for the shift. Firefighters 1 and 2 out of 6 stay in A1. A1's their vehicle for the shift. They also supplement us at fire calls by performing rescues. They have a full set of gear in their truck as well, so they can do firefighting activities using A1, but their primary role for the shift is to be our 2 medics for the shift. Now the rest of them, so you got 1 and 2 in the ambulance, you got number 6 in the deputy's car, and then we have 3, 4, and 5. What do? Well, depending on where and when the call is and what type of call it is, they could be taking out engine 5, ladder 1, brush 1. They could be grabbing the boat with the deputy, or they could staff our 2nd ambulance. That's kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're taking engine 5 and ladder 1 out of service in order to get the 2nd ambulance out the door. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's very confusing. I know some of our people, it takes a little. The toughest job in our operations wise is the deputy chief, because he has to know where all these people are at a moment's notice. If a second call comes in, he has to know, is my engine in quarters? Is my engine not in quarters? Are they tied up on another call? Can they take the 2nd ambulance? So that's kind of a moment-to-moment thing that we need to keep track of. And then just real quick at station, so we have 3 members at station 2. We have engine 2 and ladder 2, same situation, depending on what and where the call is. It depends on which truck they take. For example, if there was a fire across the street here or here at the library, they would take ladder 2 across town, and we would be here first 2 with engine 5 out of station 1. So we'd have an engine and a ladder here. But they have 3 members down there, and they cross-man everything out of that building. Here's our fire districts. We have run 3 districts, 1, 2, and 3. So all of Islington you can see is District 2. Headquarters, or FS1, covers District 1 and 3. So when we talk about placement of a new fire station, this is why we don't want to be too far down this way, because then we leave our response times too great to reach this side of town. Too far that way, same problem down here. And that's shown in our heat map over here. As you can see, they move this up a little. I just want to point out one thing. I know. You know what? Forget it. Forget it. So these are our hotspots. No, it's okay. I was just going to move it up just a bit to show our other hotspot.
What are your optimum response times?
So I'll get to that in a second, but 4 minutes is the key number here we're talking about. So you want to be, your first new piece of apparatus wants to be to any call within 4 minutes, with your full alarm assignment, meaning the remainder, to be there within 8 minutes. So if you get an engine, a ladder, an ambulance, and the chief's car, you want all of them to be on scene everywhere in town within 8 minutes. But that first new piece of apparatus needs to be there within 4 minutes.
My understanding of fire roughly doubles itself every 30 seconds.
That's right.
And for any cardiac part?
Yep.
Minutes count?
Time is muscle, they say, when it comes to cardiac events. So the longer you take, the more muscle tissue that's dying in your heart. That's the easy way to look at it. But this is our heat map, which displays where all our calls are coming from. So obviously the hotter the red, or the brighter the red, the more calls we get from that area. And it coincides. Fox Hill Village is here, Town Center here, Highland Glen here. And then there's one big spot I want to point out down here is University Ave. With the growth of University Ave, we've seen a large increase in call volume down there. And that's because of the type of buildings that we ended up putting down there. We put 2 5-story residential buildings down there. We put a miniature hospital with an urgent care in there. And then we put a assisted living facility, memory care center down there too, which really drives a lot of these calls. Plus the people coming in and out of Target, Wegmans. We get a lot of shoppers injured for one reason or another. Maybe they just have a medical issue there. But
The train station.
in the train station, and that was pre-existing before University Ave built out. But really since 2015, we've noticed a large increase in calls there.
Do you get many transports from the urgent care then?
We get a lot. Yes. I don't put an actual number on it, but I'd say 20% of our calls are coming from that area now. That's a rough guess. Don't hold me to it, but I just wanted to point out that that's how our district's set up. So District 2, Station 2 handles the calls. They're the first 2 piece down there. And then Station 1 handles, or headquarters handles, District 1 and 3. All right. I would add one more thing to the University F thing. We've assigned all our box numbers by these numbers too. So when we get an automatic alarm, someone pulls a pull station here at the library, it rings into us directly at the fire station. So the minute you pull that alarm, we're hearing it down there. If it came from the library, it would start with a number 1 to tell us what area of town we're going to. That gets us starting to the trucks. If it came from a building down here, say the daycare down here, or any other building that has a system, Highland Glen, the number would start with a 3. So that tells us we're going to this district. If it started with a 2, it would tell us it's coming from here. The new thing we've added since the University Ave build out is anything down there starts with a 5. So we've added a district to our fire alarm on our own. It doesn't mean it doesn't change anything for us. It just tells us that if it's a 5, we know we're going all the way down to University Ave.
The schools are all 4.
That's right.
We didn't skip a number.
Good question. So we did that on purpose too. So the second number in the school starts with a 4, tells us we're going to a school. The second number, if it's a 415, that tells me I know I'm going to the high school right there because it's 41, District 1. So quick little thing. So forward to what you were talking about, engine companies required to be there in 4 minutes, full response 8 minutes again, BLS 4 minutes, ALS 8 minutes. We're all ALS. So if our engine company responds to a medical and can get there within 4 minutes, technically we already can start the ALS process on scene. That's something decision we made years ago to go to an all ALS department. And it seems to be working.
All personnel are A.
Correct. With few exceptions. That's absolutely true. Yep. It actually just worked out. We had a cardiac arrest saved just the other night, actually, with our engine company. First due on scene, we're able to get everything going. The guy walked out of the hospital. So that happens more. So here's exactly what this thing tells you. So within the 4 minutes, notice we meet everywhere except for University Ave and these corners. So the caveat to this is you're supposed to be everywhere within 4 minutes to over 80% of your, but the problem here is that we have a big red spot here. So we get to all of our red spots, is my point here, within the 4 minutes, with the exception of University Ave. So we're kind of keeping an eye on the future of University Ave as well as we grow as a town.
So even the response time from Islington doesn't get to University of 4 minutes?
Not unless they're already down there for another call, which happens quite frequently. But yeah, they don't quite meet it.
Sorry, can you just
No,
a
please,
quick
go ahead.
question? So because there isn't an ambulance, is that
Nope.
the reason? No.
No, it's because we're just not close enough, and our only access to University Ave now is to either take the highway or to come around University Ave through Norwood.
Close Grant Street.
And as you can imagine, what the highway looks like at 5 o'clock on an afternoon, unfortunately, they can't get there. So 2 o'clock in the morning, can they get there? 4 minutes? Maybe. They're close. But at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, it's just not going to happen.
An ambulance will be a little bit quicker, but it's not gonna be the 4 minutes.
Yes. Yeah, I would say. This is just a quick NFPA 1710. NFPA 1710 is where all these numbers come from response times and all that stuff.
NFPA.
National Fire Protection Association, they're out of Quincy. They're the ones that set the standards for the fire departments. But this basically just depicts that single-family residence is supposed to have 15 firefighters. We're showing up with 9. Fox Hill Village, for example, commercial, large residential, 28 firefighters. We show up with 9, but we supplement that with automatic aid from Dedham. We get an automatic engine company from them. We help each other out there. We have automatic aid with Dedham in Norwood, where buildings like this, we automatically call because it's close to the town line. We automatically call a Dedham engine, and they automatically call us to, say, the Hilton Hotel on East Street Rotary, because we just need to supplement. That's one way to help supplement our staffing.
But you have the ability to supplement for residential to get to that 15 number too, even though it's not automatic, call for a.
In fact, we would. What happens, how that would work is we would get there, confirm that there's something going on that we need additional help, and that's when we start that mutual aid program. For example, even if something's not requiring an extra engine to help us at the fire scene, a smaller fire that's going to occupy our time for a little bit, we'll call Norwood and have them post one of their engines in our station, just in case another call comes in town. And then we do the same for them as well.
So using the mutual aid model, do we reach the net NFPA standards?
No, think of each one of those trucks brings you 3 people. That's pretty standard. although the NFPA requirement you'll see in this slide is 4, we contractually run with 3 people per fire apparatus. We can't physically roll a fire engine out the door with less than 3 people on it. In ambulance, we can, the car, we can, an engine, a ladder, squad, brush truck, we cannot roll those pieces of apparatus out the door with less than 3 people. That's basically what this, thank you, Jody, that's what this. We're often asked, why do you need an engine company with your ambulance every time it rolls out the door? Like, why does that happen? It's simply because we need so basically you have a lieutenant here who's talking to family members. And as I said, we're an ALS engine. So all these people are trained to do all of these things. So this guy here is starting an interosseous infusion, which goes directly into the bone instead of an IV. This guy's doing CPR. This guy's managing an airway. This guy's doing medications, and he's talking to family. It's the lieutenant's officer who's it's the lieutenant, the officer on engine 5, who is responsible for controlling that scene. He's really the one, he's the eyes and the ears of the members that are doing the work until he needs to get involved. And then once he gets involved, he still is. And then someone like the deputy chief would come to a call like this as well, because it can be chaotic and someone needs to be there to watch each other's backs. In addition to that, the amount of equipment that they carry into these houses now, including having to carry the patient out, is heavy. And you need all the manpower you can get to get in and out of these buildings for what we do. We provide all this treatment right at your bedside. So imagine going to a residential house 2 o'clock in the morning for someone having severe chest pain. We're going to start giving you medication, start an IV. You may need your airway maintained. And then we have to carry you in and out with all the equipment that we just brought in too. So that's why you can see all those tasks add up very quickly. So we have a 3-person engine company and a 2-person ambulance crew. That's it. Really, the ambulance crew are the ones that are tasked with patient care, and they're supplemented by the engine crew who is there to help carry. And if need be, they can also administer treatment as well. So when you think about that, as I keep going on and on and on about this stuff, think about when we do EMS, it takes up quite a bunch of space. We have 3 ambulances, like I said. And then all the equipment that we use, as you saw when you toured Station 1, we have it currently in the hallways and things like that. That's coming down the pipe from state OEMS. We're going to have to start regulating all our medications, and it's going to be required to be in a locked room on their own. So we're going to need additional storage for that type of thing as well. And that's really when I talk about this stuff, I want you to think about all the storage space that comes with it. As far as training, this answers your question, John. There's first responder level, EMT basic, and paramedic level training levels of. We're all at the paramedic with few exceptions, like I said, but what's required in the training world of that is 1,500 plus hours of classroom, labs, hospital clinicals, and field internships. When we talk about this, we talk about M&M rounds that we have to do with our doctor. He comes in at least once a month, and then we do shift training as well, like this. And this is where we currently do it. This is what our current setup is down in the basement just outside of my office. Clearly not enough space for us to fit a full department, barely even a shift, if full shift complement, never mind the full department is what I'm trying to say. But EMT basics have a little bit less training, and first responders have a lot less training than what, say, paramedics do. And again, I'm going to hammer it. We're all at this paramedic level.
And, I just want to add, when you look at other stations and spent a lot of time the last couple of days just surfing the web, going through and looking at various fire stations and all that. And it's amazing. They all have conference rooms that can hold their department or a large part.
Yeah.
Roughly, I'm going to guess 25, 30 seats at least. So I think that's important. That's what you just talked about. You need to have that for the constant training that's going on. So that need is in every station pretty much that I looked at.
Yes. And when we're, to your point, when we were at Needham the other day, they were actually conducting a class, you were there too, and they took up probably half the room, would you say?
It was half the room there filled up.
And that was their
instructional plan.
Yeah.
So I do have sort of a follow-on question.
Yeah, please.
So it's not just like a row of desks for training, right? Like when we were there, we saw like there was all sorts of equipment.
Right. And for that equipment, you need storage for that equipment. So we have CPR dummies and IV dummies and all the lab type training that goes along with our EMS that you need a place to store all that stuff. Right now, we just don't have it.
That's why we wanted rolling tables and everything, so we just push everything out of the way and start doing training right there on the
Yeah.
floor. I think that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, so that's what I saw, you need them, so I saw like just a bunch of equipment off to the side, so it's not like you can just easily pack it up and take it someplace, right? I mean, I guess you have, if you have to,
We
like,
have, but yeah,
but like ideally, it's not like typical.
And I didn't look at the tables to see if we were rolling, but that's exactly what you need to do is be able to
Just to
push.
be flexible.
Yeah. Plus, there's some building department components to that too, fixed seating versus non-fixed seating, and
Sure.
that's gonna be for another night, but we'll talk about that, yeah. And then these next few slides are just to show our staffing models and to kind of explain that a little bit more. And kind of highlight our space needs, when we're, so this is the slide at 9 that I've kind of touched on quite a few times already, but so now we have 6, this is our minimum. We have 6 at station 1, 3 at station 2, and these are the trucks that we operate out of station 1. So notice you got the deputy in car 3, then you got those 3 firefighters that cross staff the trucks, and then you got the 2 assigned to A1. And then here we just highlighted that A2, we can only staff it if we're not on those trucks. So we're not kind of there yet. But out of this station, in addition to these trucks listed, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we also house the brush truck, the Kubota, the boat, the reserve ambulance, the reserve engine. Now, why do we need that reserve engine? Because often, like Friday, for example, we had those storms come in and we call after call after call. We call in people off duty, and that reserve engine sits there at the ready to go. Currently, right now, this is the only engine that fits in our station off the back. We can't put engine 5 or any of the ladders. We can't put any other truck other than the reserve engine and the ambulance in the back of the station. So we keep this downstairs at the ready. So when we call people back in the event of a storm, they can take engine 1, the reserve engine, for a supplemental call. So we were able to utilize engine 1 the other day with off-duty members that we called back into work. So that needs to be there, ready to go as well. Same thing with the squad that is currently at station 2. That squad, ideally, we'd like to have back at station 1 because most of our staffing is over here. So we have more versatility. When we need that squad and engine 2 is out, we have to say, hey, can someone go get the squad, bring it back here? Brush fire season, we go get that truck and we take it back and park it out in the front parking lot of station 1 because we utilize that truck so much. So that's.
If you did that, you could have a space for an ambulance that's at station 2.
Yep, and I'm gonna get there in one sec. So yep, that's a good point. So down station 2, we also have that hazmat truck and then our fire alarm truck. Those are the ones that they maintain our fire alarm system. It has a bucket that they're up in the poles you see all over town. But we also here have C6, which is our pickup, has a plow on it. We plow our own parking lots. We also, during like a major snowstorm, we'll staff this truck and send that with our engine and ambulance because they can actually plow people's driveways so we get access to their house. C7 is again, another recall spare command vehicle. So when our deputy's tied up running a fire, we call back another deputy to run the rest of the town. That deputy is then responsible, the spare deputy, we'll call him for this. He's responsible for taking the out-of-town crews that are covering our station to calls that they're not necessarily familiar with. So we call those pilots. So that deputy will run the subsequent incident that happens while our on-duty staff is already tied up. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. On Friday, how many personnel did you call in?
You know off the top of your head? I don't remember. I was out running around too.
a 4 back.
Yeah, I think we got 4.
4, and they're there throughout the whole night.
We were there for quite some time, probably till the late evening anyways, I would say.
Colin.
Yep.
Islington can currently house all 6 pieces of equipment inside, is that correct?
Correct. Yep, all of those pieces are inside. These are outside. That's why I highlighted. Thank you for picking up on that, Jody. The trailer, these spare trucks are currently housed outside. Everything else you see is inside at station 1. So we already don't have enough space for this stuff.
The spare command, what kind of vehicle is that?
That's like a expedition. It's just like a
SUV.
yeah, it's an SUV. Yep. All right. So that's our 9 firefighter staffing model. And not much is going to change, but if we go up 1 to 10, because currently 2 shifts have correct, help me out here. 2 shifts have 11, 2 have 10, right? So when those shifts are at 10, assuming everybody's at work, We simply supplement this engine 5 ladder 1 with one extra person. So now we can rob engine 5 and ladder 1 of 2 people to get the second ambulance, leaving 2 people behind. Not enough to get another engine company, because remember, I need 3 people to roll a fire truck, right? That's the only difference between this side. When we go to 11, a big change, and this is where we're trying to get to. When we're at 11 and we're full, and sometimes we are full on holidays, or we may feel full on, if we know a major storm's coming, just to beef us up a little bit, staffing wise. But what we do in the event of that is we then move A2 over that second ambulance over to station 2. So then we have 6 over here at station 1 and 5 over there. That allows us to operate an ambulance out of Islington, and that's what we're trying to get to on a full-time basis. At that point, Islington becomes a full station. There's 5 dorms there. So now when this ambulance goes over here, we'll have 5 members there full-time. There'll be a lieutenant and 2 firefighters on the engine / ladder, and then 2 firefighters assigned to the ambulance over there. Yes, Mom?
When the ambulance goes over there, what are you taking out of station 2 to make it fit?
So, the squad.
Okay, so the squad and the ambulance just trade.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay.
Just questions that I'm not understanding.
Yes.
So it looks like when you get to 10, it's really not helping.
No.
You want extra person on a truck, but.
Correct.
So why do 10 at all? Why not? Why do 2 shifts of 10 as opposed to 1 shift of 11, which would at least allow you once for 1 shift to move that ambulance over?
Yeah, so it's like, you're totally right. 10 means absolutely nothing to us.
Right.
When we say that there's 10 on a shift or 11 on a shift, we mean assigned to a shift. And there's a huge difference between assigned and staffed too. Right.
Correct.
So right now we have 10 or 11 depending, and maybe soon we'll have 11 assigned to each shift. It doesn't matter at all what that number is if the minimum is 9, because the vast majority of times it's 9 that
Okay.
show up.
Injury, sick, vacation.
Right.
We don't fill overtime, man, personal.
So until you get to staff to 11, then you can't do that. Staff to 11, you need to have 13, 14 people on each shift.
But do you have any shifts right now where you physically have 10 on shift?
It happens very little. There's 10 assigned to the shift, but because of injuries and different
Right.
things.
That's why the important number is 9.
If you go below 9, you call in a reserve.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we'll backfill up to the 9th position.
Nine's the minimum.
Right. On rare occasions, we'll have the 10th person there, and that's when we just we make our engine company a 4-person engine company, which the NFPA standard is anyway. From a few slides back, I know this is very complicated. Trust me, it's difficult to explain too. But you're right. We don't necessarily need that extra person. It's helpful because a 4-person engine company is better than a 3-person engine company. But yes, we only backfill to 9. That makes sense.
Why not now is it would cost millions in overtime
Yeah.
to staff to 11, and then you would just burn out the staff so quickly because there wouldn't be enough of them.
Right. But this is where we should be at as soon as possible. We're trying to get to this model, which gives us an engine and an ambulance out of each station, plus the deputy chief over here to run both stations.
That's the 11-person.
That's the 11-person model is where we should be trying to get
To
to.
assign 13.
Yeah, ideally. Yeah, if we get to a minimum of 11, then you're probably talking 13 or 14 staffing level. With vacation time, sick time, etc.
I think Paula asked this, but if you get to that level, how would the equipment move? You'd put the ambulance in Islington,
Mhm.
and then would you move something else back to?
Yep, we'd move the squad back over to station 1. But we ideally would like to have the squad front facing in this configuration. Because you can't,
Mini brush truck,
it's the big brush truck.
the big brush.
Yep,
So,
yep,
when we bring the squad back, it won't fit back to back with any of the apparatus upstairs. So when we bring it back, we take our 3rd ambulance, which is our mechanical spare,
Which is down below.
down,
yes,
put that behind the frontline ambulance. So
Mhm.
it's replacing where the one that went to station 2 is,
Mhm.
and the squad goes downstairs.
Got it.
Just because we have to park it inside.
Yes. Okay.
right,
These are important discussions when we're talking about the size of the building and what's going to be in the
Right.
building. That's why
To your point, though,
your citizens are gonna need to understand this.
yes.
They understand why we ask for whatever we ask.
So now, though, when we bring the squad back over, we also bury it in the back of the building.
Yeah.
So it's not ready to respond like we would like, because it's behind something else.
Yeah.
If you operate, if you have a station like Needham has, or name Dover even, they're drive-through stations, so you can simply reverse the trucks and drive out the back and out the front at the ready all the time. Our current situation with the bays down back, you have to pull out around the neighborhood to get out. One, and two, most of those trucks don't even fit down there because the bay doors are too low. Remember?
And you, if I remember, you lost a bunch of space down there because of
Because of
all
the
of
shoring.
the extra support.
That's right.
storage that you now need to.
That's exactly right, which I'm anticipating is going to be more shortly. So we may lose that bottom floor altogether.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So that's 11. We need to point out the future, what we're talking about. I already talked about how we call people back frequently to supplement our staffing levels during times of need, like storms and fires when events are happening in town. I just wanted to point out this too, just to go back to this area, we have to be paying attention to, and that's something that we're thinking about. I told you, we already talked about making that our District 5. So at some point, there's a study from 2007 that brought this up back when they were initially trying to do the University Ave project, the first go around. It was called Westwood Station then, I believe, my memory serves me correctly, or University Station. Anyway, what they were anticipating for an increase in call volume would have warranted a third station. I can tell you that we're just about there now with what the current iteration of what University Ave has become. So that's something that we need to keep our eye on and anticipate for the future as well. So when we're making these decisions going forward, that's something that we should keep in the back of our head, is that I don't know how that can work in.
That's where the one option with the 3 stations came.
Right. So that's why you see that as one of the 8 options, is this is the third station. So we're not ignoring this. We're simply putting it out there for you guys to take into consideration when we ultimately come up with a design.
Yeah, Ford touched on it, but the Amtrak station, but also 128. I don't know. Darren talk about response to that.
Yes, that's actually what the mini brush truck is, Jody, that you talked about. That's actually what that truck was designed for. That truck was actually designed to get into that. We got that on a grant before my time, actually. That truck's very old. Before my time in the department, not Kurt. So that's actually designed to get into the parking garage. That carries 250 gallons of water, so a very limited amount of water space on that truck. So especially today's designs with vehicles, electric vehicles, we cannot, the 250 gallons just doesn't cut it for that. So we basically repurposed that as our brush piece.
It's always a brush piece. It was just dual purpose.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So we use that to get in it. Now we have a different response plan for that building where we use our ladder and our engine system combined to put out fires there. But that station is actually the 22nd. We just did training with Amtrak. That's actually the 22nd busiest station in the country for Amtrak. And I didn't even know that they were on the West Coast. And so that includes all of the United States. They're all over the place. So it's the second busiest in New England, behind South Station, I believe. So we do quite a few calls there. There's quite a few people coming off of those trains that we're done with quite a bit. And then another thing I didn't even bring up, but I will now for consideration, is that we cover this whole stretch of highway here. So we cover from about here to about here. Some out of station 1, some out of station 2. What putting more apparatus when we get to that staffing level out of station 2 does, or even if that third station ever became an option, was it gives us a little bit more flexibility on how we respond to the highway. Our ambulance currently responds to here out of station 1, which, as I said, if there's a crash here and it's backed up to here, it takes them quite a bit of time. If we had an ambulance out of here, it'd be much quicker.
So I assume you're doing a lot of coordination with them also.
Absolutely. Every time it goes out, we have county channels that we can talk to each other. So we coordinate who's going where at what time. Yes, as well as Canton. And then Norwood on the other side too.
Probably shouldn't be brought up because but electric vehicles, it's a difficult fire to deal with.
Very difficult.
And do you think that's gonna need different types of vehicles to deal with them, fire vehicles? They carry
In what sense? Like more water or?
water, the battery is hard to put out, so.
We're not there yet. They haven't come out with, they've most recently come out with a special,
Consider when, we're gonna need a different kind of vehicle that's good.
yeah.
I think it's gonna be multiple vehicles, because it's gonna be a long-term operation. You
Right.
can't put the fire out, you just have to cool everything else until it's your. So,
One of the things, industry-wide, they're trying to deal with that now. Yeah. Right now, we put the truck, the vehicle, electrical vehicle on the back of a tow truck and follow it back to the tow yard to make sure it doesn't catch again while it's on the back of the
I
truck.
believe building codes are gonna change, you're gonna have to have separate building codes. for
Yeah.
budgets, But, but that's for us.
But what I really wanted to emphasize with this, other than trying to explain to you a very complicated system of how we run our operations at different level thing, is the space needed. I know Molly sent out that email, the previous study that is done for space needs. I'll have you take a look at that again. And I'll be happy to answer any questions as far as why we need what for space. But think about the fire prevention files, the training dummies that we need for both fire and non-fire, and EMS training. So we document all of that training. For our ISO ratings, we have to do training every single day, to keep our members sharp and on the top of their game. And we need space to do that too. And when I specifically to firefighting skills, just because we're not lighting the building on fire or anything, but we do have training operations that we do at the back of the station every single day, or even in the classroom every day. So that training space will be utilized on a daily basis, whether it's the full department staff or not, we'll be using that training space. And then really the apparatus floor, I've said this a lot, is the size of the apparatus floor is what drives the station. Keeping all those trucks housed indoors keeps maintenance costs down. Our replacement schedule gets distanced from that. We don't need to replace anything on as frequent of a basis by keeping it indoors. And right now, when you walk through Station 1, our spare hose, our spare speedy dry, absorbent for fluid spills, our cleaning supplies are all tucked in between the trucks. All that stuff should have its own designated space. Right now, our deputy chief, our lieutenant, and our 2 ambulance crew members are writing their reports in the front watch desk area. That's really just designed to be a backup dispatch center and a receiving point for our fire alarm system to report into us when something's going on. It's our watch desk. A couple other things to think about too is our frequency of people stopping in for medicals at Station 1. We don't really have a place to bring them. So we treat you right in the front vestibule there, which provides no privacy for you as the patient. Imagine having chest pain and we're putting a 12 lead EKG on you and someone's coming in to get a permit at the same time. It's kind of like, so we're trying to provide all that type of space. So all of those things are to be considered when designing a new station. But that's pretty much what I wanted to relay. I think that's the end of my spiel.
Colin,
Yep, go ahead, go back.
I probably shouldn't ask, but I'm gonna,
Yeah, no, please do.
with District 5,
Yes.
if we built a 3rd station.
Yep.
We may have to by code with some other.
Yep.
Is that all new equipment, or is that equipment that we have shift and then?
At that point, it would be equipment that we shifted because we would simply take one of the ladders and stop cross manning that and put the ladder probably centrally and then an engine down here. So this would be another substation. This would not be a headquarters. We're talking about building a headquarters for fire station with my office and the chief's office. And this is where our administrative staff will be. This down here would be a much smaller thing. We'd probably put an engine and an ambulance down here, a ladder so it could go both ways in the central station, and then a full complement with an engine and an ambulance over here as well. That's how that would probably shake out. Would you agree with that, Chief?
Yeah.
Chief, how would that, yeah.
Well, just what he just said, that would be fine.
Put that right here. Yep, right here.
Yeah.
So you're talking 14. That's a 14 minimum.
Got it.
Yeah, so it would affect it greatly, which, that's the big cost is obviously staffing. Yep.
There are 14 firefighters minimum.
Minimum.
16 on shift.
That's right.
And there's 10
Yes.
now, so you're at 6 times 3.
So we could always maintain that 14, like we maintain the 9 now. Sorry.
I mean, kind of like we don't get it.
No, I didn't find
It
it.
is.
No.
It takes time, but I think we really need to look at university station growth like knowing what it is now, but then in 5 years, kind of, I know I was talking about lockers earlier, and this is a much bigger expenditure on lockers, but I think kind of fast forward 5, 10, 15 years from now, what does Universal Station look like? And will we be thinking, shoot, I wish we thought about it at the time?
Yeah, I think that would be phased, like we could put an ambulance down there and then get to an engine ambulance. So obviously you can't. Rome wasn't built in a day, so.
So the training is 1,500 hours, 52 weeks, that's about 30 hours a week you guys are training.
That's just EMS too.
That's just the EMS, not including the fire and everything.
That's right.
Then you do it collectively as a group.
Yeah, yep.
So I think Colin touched on the problematic needs, but when you look, we sent to you the presentation by the chief in Needham, of this station. For those that weren't able to go, but I think it's well worth reviewing that because you'll see what a station needs. I also looked at Lexington over the weekend and I have a presentation that they did and we'll have that sent. Same kind of thing Needham has, but it shows the various spaces that absolutely you need that are not being used in the current station. So problematic needs to meet everything. We need to be able to put it in a new station.
Can I just the other station? Lexington was talked about a lot in the last. Lexington built their station knowing that they are. Station 2, they're adding a bay on and they are building a station 3. So they built that a little smaller, knowing what their future was. They already have the plans for those. They're building a school, then they're doing station 2, then they're doing station 3.
Yeah.
But if I-
Lexington's doing a big school, it's a $600 million project.
If I understand what you guys are saying, you were asked to predict now. It's just a matter of time, and you don't know what that time period is gonna be, but it's just a matter of time before Westwood will need a third station, or at least a station that can reach University within 4 minutes, and currently we don't have any. So we're either relocating Islington to someplace else that can reach University and the area it currently covers it, or we're building a third station at some point in the future,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, okay.
And I think the relocation of Station 2 was looked at previously back in 07. And I don't remember the details of it, but somehow it ended up back in the same space where they looked at moving it down closer to East Street Road, things like that. But some other,
I think when they did that study for the third station down there, it wasn't anything fancy. It was literally going to be attached to one of the parking garages that was down there. It was just going to be a garage with some living quarters off of it.
Right.
Today it'd be a little different with the decon space and everything, but wouldn't have to be anything.
Right,
fancy.
but if we're talking about, as you said, what Lexington did, what we need to rebuild at FS1.
Yeah.
It's helpful to know that within FS1's lifetime, Westwood is likely going to need something that has quicker access to University. So,
Yeah.
so we could do the
That's why
same
we-
thing, we could
yeah.
build that
Yeah.
into,
that's exactly what I'm pointing out now.
right,
Yeah.
okay,
Some other context too, like we did the numbers at Needham Station, that someone had asked me the other day. That building is about 60,000 square feet, but that is a combined police and fire station. So if you take 2/3 of that building, you're at about 40,000 square feet. Because they have the shared space as well, that would, the fire department uses, so they're about 40,000 square feet for their headquarters. And their substation is 22,000 square feet. By contrast, our station 2 is 11,700 square feet. So where theirs is 22. Just to throw it out there, so something to compare to. Say again, sorry.
How's the new Dedham station?
The new Dedham station, we toured that months and months ago. And they built in all the things that we talk about. They did a great job. They have underground parking there, so they don't need the lot space.
Yeah.
That we require, because they can get their personal vehicles in the building too. But they were able to provide that separation too that we talk about with the hot zone, the warm zone, and the cold zone. So that's all built into their station too, and that's a shared facility also. I don't know what the square footage of that one is, so I could call and ask them.
When I think about it, I said this, a fire station is a fire station.
Yeah.
Now, they're all being built for the same needs. And so what we need here is the same thing all these other communities need or have done.
Yeah.
It's interesting, you don't see it in plans as you look at it, they're not different. A little configuration may be different, but all the same needs are being built.
Right. And to that point, one thing I didn't really touch much on this, but we talk about training and we'll also talk about the health and wellness a lot. We talk about this a lot of our people. And not only is it the separation of the contaminated area versus your eating area or sitting area, it's your fitness, your overall wellness. It's not the cancer stuff. Cancer, has now become the #1 leading cause of death to us firefighters. The second leading cause is cardiac issues, and that's you need to exercise. You need to build time in your day to exercise. We're used to going from right now, sitting here and having a conversation or training on something like that to the bell going off, and now your heart rate's jumping. And now add that to now you're dragging a very heavy hose line with your air pack on and you're carrying your tools in. That's a lot of work on your body. If you don't train your body to stay up with that, it's going to lead to problems down the road. So fitness is certainly something we want to incorporate into our building as well.
Mental health, a big part of the third leading cause of suicide. And they say intense workouts after a traumatic call really helps with preventing PTSD and mental health issues.
And that's why having good sleeping quarters, resting quarters, wherever you want to look at it, is extremely important.
We point that out. There's always two very important spots for us for mental wellness. And one of them is around the kitchen table so they can sit and talk about a call that they went on with sensitive issues that they don't want to be talking about in front of other people. You want to have that conversation with the people there, but sometimes you want that privacy. You want to have just to be alone for 5 minutes, maybe go read a book or something like that to get your mind off of whatever it is that you may be thinking about. So sorry to bring it down to you. Geez.
No, but those are all very-
It's what you guys are dealing with.
Yeah, it is.
So is there a way to anticipate any like future trends in minimum staffing? So it means there's industry standards, should they revisit those standards from time to time? There's there's the equipment that you have to maintain or things like that. So there's sort of the internal requirements from the community and then like what the community needs.
Right.
And then there's industry standards and then maybe collective bargaining agreement might come in there at some
It
point
does.
too.
It
Yeah.
absolutely does.
So how can we anticipate like, the staffing needs like 10 years down the line?
It's difficult without knowing, especially the university ad piece is one thing that we're monitoring as it grows, but there's other areas of town that are growing too. So we basically have to be a little bit reactionary in that way, I would say.
Yeah, are you speaking to the NFPA standards?
I'm speaking like any factors that go into minimum staffing.
So, like you were saying, geography is a big part of it. The demographics of the town, where you have a aging population. And then the standards coming in.
Right.
The 4 comes from a study they did where if 2 people are in a fire, you need 2 people outside the fire to rescue the firefighters if something happens. That's where the 4 comes from, 2 in, 2 out. That's why so what are the?
But those standards evolve over time, right? I mean,
When I started with 3.
okay, yeah, that's
So it was back in the 90s that the town and the union went to arbitration, and that's where we got the 3-man per piece in the contract.
When's the next contract?
Just
signed.
Figure this out.
so, but I think we also understand that, we have 3-man per piece. We got it better than some other places.
Yeah.
So it's all a big,
Right.
you
I mean, you have to kind of guess. There's no way.
So we ask for the standard, the town sets the level of standard level of services that they can provide.
Right.
Right, and it has to do with every other department in town, everything else. We understand that, and we will
I
advocate.
mean, because the development of the town depends upon the capacity as well.
Right.
So it's like we can't have a whole bunch of whatever businesses going in University Ave unless we have the capacity to service them.
It's a consideration.
Yeah.
For sure. I'll give you an example that doesn't compare to us at all. but say a New York City fire truck where they have many high-rise buildings, so they have a very condensed population in a small area, they'll run a ladder truck with 6 people instead of the required 4. For that reason. Does that make sense? So the standard actually applies based on what you have for growth or occupancy within your community.
But it's interesting whether the town reacts by, holding back. I mean, it has to do with the development, so it's sort of a real dance that they have to do.
Type of development plays a role in that too. If you bring in elderly population, more high-rise elderly building, then obviously our ambulance is gonna be taxed quite a bit by that.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you,
All right.
Colin.
Thank you.
I actually asked just a, sorry.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
So it was one more question. So the listing of programmatic needs is
Yeah.
really helpful. Is there a document, and if we have it, I apologize,
Yeah.
but that kind of lists out what you currently need or what is
Yeah.
needed? And then how is it handled currently? And I know we talked about the training. No, I have this. I'm just saying, like, is there? Like, could we add? So let's say training, because we talked about that earlier.
Hmm.
So we know that right now it's being handled because you're going to the library. Well, what happens when you go to the library? You're taking trucks, and we talked about, because it was a cold day, we visited the station. Oh, well, the trucks have to be kept running.
Yes.
So if we could document, I think it would be helpful for all of us, but then maybe also for the community as well.
So you want to add
So-
this, what we're
Yeah,
doing now?
I think,
Yeah, how is it handled now? Because you can look and say it's 2.5 times or whatever, right? It will be larger, but why is it larger? It's because currently, there's medical supplies in the training room, right? Like there isn't, and one of the requirements is. So you thought you
No,
were.
No, I
so
think Nancy makes a very, very good point. A lot of the questions that we all heard the last time around is, well, you're meeting what the town needs with what you have. So why is it that you're saying what you need is 2.5 times more than what you have? And I think everyone can kind of understand the decontamination part, the gym equipment part, the better sleeping
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
But there are pieces of that I think still get confused, like, why is it that you need training facilities that can accommodate all these people when you don't currently have it and you're keeping up with your training?
Yeah.
So I think there are some nuanced pieces to the needs that we need to understand better and the town needs to understand better. Some of it, I think, is automatic. We get, you need decontamination, you need the better space. Some of it's not.
Right.
We could see it, like, so when you, like, record storage is one of the items on here. So how is it being handled? Well, there's a trailer in the parking lot.
Right.
And it's,
let me interrupt. I think what you bring up is extremely important. I think that's the subject for another meeting, because that's sort of next on the agenda. The subjects, I think that's important. We have you have provided us a list of elements we should talk about.
Yeah.
And I think that should be on the future agenda item.
Right.
And so
It is a good point. Yeah.
I think it's extremely important, because that's why a fire station is constructed, is for those problematic.
oh yeah, and I wasn't saying to do this now. I'm just thinking, if we can start thinking about how is it, what do we do now? How is it handled?
You're right.
Do you do?
And there are additional factors too that need to be factored in, and I don't want to open this can.
No,
today.
let's.
No, this can's closed.
We gotta end this meeting. So
When you start talking building stuff.
we're gonna add that to a future agenda. And also, as we move into January, we did a tour this morning of spaces. We need to look at the options that the selectmen brought up at their listening session, I don't know, several months ago. So we need to have that kind of a discussion, because the selectmen are gonna want us to pick an option that we think makes the most sense. So that's gonna be pretty much what we're gonna do in January. And so that's the direction we're going. If there's anything else that you want to have brought up, let me know now, or just let us know. Send me an email or do something that we need to look at.
I think we can spend a whole meeting going over the program.
Because we,
I think that should be the agenda.
what is our job is education and communication, and that's what we're gonna do. And we need to do that when we have our citizen meetings, just,
So.
okay? Going to,
Excuse me. Did you want me to touch on, just like one example of that would be the training scenario used is that when we all fit into, like some people, they don't even have a seat in the current training facility, that when we have to house it within our current walls. That's one example. Another example is, in the previous project, we were able to incorporate our training tower into an actual operating stairwell that we can use. It had a special window built into it. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, and we see that, we see that.
Yes.
Actually,
That's one area we're trying to combine.
Station two.
Has it, yeah, it's like-
Let me turn the video Republic and press comments. We do have some public here and others. So please make your comments, knowing that there will be no discussion from this group answering them. But my plan is to address them in our next meeting where appropriate. So that will take place. So if you want to speak, a couple of minutes would be satisfactory, I think. Please give us your name and address. So is there, well, first you're in the room, we'll go into the room. Is there anybody that would like to say something? Identify your name and address.
Do I need to move closer?
You can do it.
I'll talk as loud as I can. Kathy Wallace, 283 Farm Lane. Excellent presentation, Colin. It's really complex to understand the staffing and everything, and I love the graphics that you had. As a resident, my concern is we've been playing catch up with the fire department for a decade, and we're not where we need to be. When they say we're trying to get to 11, it should be 11 minimum at all times, not just 11 in the group. And I think Molly said the number, which is we should be at 13, 14 in a group. So that's where we should be today. And that's what we should be designing a station for, is that level of staffing, because that's really what we need today. And think about the importance of that in terms of being able to have an ambulance at Station 2. I think that's critically important. But it's not as simple as adding the 2 people that you have coming and putting them there. That doesn't give you an ambulance 100% of the time at Station 2. That's why we need to get to the 13, 14 people. The cost of maintaining 9 minimum is a time and a half. I mean, there's a financial picture there where you're breaking even just by having the more staff rather than paying time and a half to existing staff. Not to mention you're burning out the existing staff, and when you burn them out, they're more prone to injuries, which then compounds the problem of the staff. So the operational study said we should have 13 or 14 people now, so we have 11 minimum at all times. The 9 that Colin talks about is by contract and is by agreement with the select board of what they'll fund with overtime, because that's a way to control overtime expense. But from a public safety, I think it's a risky strategy for public safety to not have 11 minimum at all times, meaning the 13 and 14. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else? Is there anybody online?
There wasn't.
Would like to Colin, that was awesome. Out of all the presentations, that was the smoothest and easiest to follow.
Thank you.
Alan, I have an idea which I'm gonna talk about, not now,
Okay.
but it goes around. Thank you for volunteering.
All right, yeah, thanks. My pleasure.
Our next meeting is scheduled for January 5. So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. But before I do, I want to wish you and everybody online and in this room a happy holiday. Enjoy your families and your time. And we're gonna be working over the holidays, aren't we? You know, looking at things and moving forward. So thank you. Happy holidays to all of you. A motion to adjourn? Silly?
Yes.
Ken Ayers? Yeah. Sarah Kelly?
Yes.
John Cummings?
Yes.
Paul Delay? Yes. Nancy James?
Yes.
Ford Spalding, yes. Thank you all. It's been a long morning and we appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, thanks for being honest.